In this video, we're going to be taking a look at the general education, or what's sometimes referred to as the IGETC. We will be looking at the important things that you need to know. We'll be discussing some of the various options available, how many courses you actually need to complete the general education, and then we'll do a review of the IGETC form, as well as take a look over a sample education plan. Now down there on the right, that graphic is going to show what's typically the mix of courses that you're going to take as a college student. You're going to take the courses that are required for your major, you're going to complete the general education, and then depending on your major, you may have some additional units that you can take for electives. And we'll look at an economics ed plan where you'll see sort of the variety of those. So what do you need to know? So in addition to the major requirements, you're also going to need to complete the general education courses before you graduate from the university. The important key there is before you graduate. It's not a requirement to have all that done before transfer. Depending on your major, it might be very simple to fit it in, but depending on your major, it might be very difficult, if not impossible, to fit all of it in, especially if you're looking at doing it in 2 years. Your application will not be stronger if you've done all your GE. There are some important things to focus on in terms of strength of transfer. General education is not one of them. Typically, engineering students don't need to complete the general education before transfer, but talk to a counselor early. If you're interested in applying for the CSU system, these requirements can vary. A lot of these videos are leaning a little bit more heavily towards UC transfer. The one exception to the rule of not needing your GE done before transfer is if you're going to be applying for UC Berkeley as an architecture major. It's the one instance that you do need to have all the GE done beforehand. If you're going to be completing an associate's degree for transfer, you will need to complete all of the general education in order to be eligible for the degree. I will have some videos also on associate's degrees, and I'll have some more details in there as well. You only need to complete Area 1C. That's typically the public speaking class, small group discussion, only if you're applying for the CSU or applying for one of the associate's degrees for transfer. If you're only applying for the UC and not interested in doing one of our transfer degrees, you do not have to worry about completing that public speaking or small group discussion class. If you will be completing one of our DVC degrees, our associate's degrees that are not for transfer, talk to one of the counselors about some of the other GE options that are available to you. So courses that you take for your major can also count for you on the general education. This is where you want to pay attention early so that you don't take additional classes that you might not have needed. For example, an economics major, you're going to take micro and macroeconomics. These are courses required for your major. They're also going to count for you in area 4 of the general education. So you can have these things count in both areas. As a psych major, you're going to take Introduction to Psychology. This course also, it's a major class, but can also count for you in the general education. History courses show up in multiple sections. You will see them in either area 3 and 4. You can only use the history class in one of the 2 areas. You can use it in area 3 or 4, but not both, and that's your decision. And in a moment, we will be going over a couple other documents, the IGETC, as well as that sample educational plan. So what about area 6, foreign languages, that area on the back? Typically, international students aren't required to take any additional language once studying in the US. And if you fall into any one of these categories, you just want to submit your high school record or transcript to the DVC admissions office. And as usual, I would say do it sooner rather than later. So that first one is if you took 2 years of instruction in a school where the language was not English, and the example I've given, you studied at a high school in Japan, the language of instruction was Japanese, you don't need to study any more languages at DVC. We just need to prove proficiency in that language from the high school record. Another very common situation, you took, you went to a school where the language of instruction was English, but you also took language classes in what was your native language every day. Same thing, bring a copy of those transcripts over to the admissions office. And the example here, you studied at a high school in Indonesia, language of instruction was English, but you took Bahasa class every day. As long as you have 2 years where you can show that you passed those classes, same thing, you do not have to take any more language classes. If you don't fall into one of these two categories, I would say come by and see one of us in counseling so we can look at other possible ways that we can prove your proficiency. So who should do their GE before transfer? And this is going to depend on your situation, your timeline, your degree goals, etc. It may be very difficult to complete all of it while at DVC. And like I said earlier, it's really going to depend on your major. If you're an economics major, for example, you only have 16 units of major preparation. You're going to have a year of calculus and a year of economics. That's it, 16 units. You'll take 6 units of English typically, and what's left over is 19 units of GE. So you have 41 units that are going to be required, and then that leaves 19 units for electives or the possibility of considering double majors. So an economics major has a lot of flexibility in their timeline. If I pull over computer science, and this is something for example, if you're applying to both Berkeley and LA, they have 59 units of major preparation. So very big difference from econ with 16. Add 6 units of English, and you're already into above the 60 unit requirement. So it's going to be pretty difficult to factor in all the GE plus electives if you're trying to do it in 2 years. You don't have to do it in 2 years. We have students that stay 2.5, 3 years. And again, talk to counselors early and often so that we can really find a timeline and a schedule that's going to make the most sense for you. So this is a quick sample education plan. You'll see this is the first year. We have fall, spring, summer. And then the second year we have fall, spring. Now, like I said with economics, there's only 4 classes that are required: Math 192, 193, Econ 220, and 221. The economics courses double count for those areas of IGETC in area 4. And then this just leaves 6 more classes of general education that you would need to wrap up before transfer if possible. You'll see here, I talk about possibly considering a double major because you have all these different electives that you can take. In general, I would always say work to have your major preparation done by the end of your final fall. Have at least 60 units of transferable courses by the end of your final spring. Come in and see us often in counseling. Remember, applications happen in the second fall. You're going to be working on your transfer applications typically September, October, and November. With that, I want to pull up the IGETC sheet so we can take a look. You'll see English, we've prepared for those. The public speaking, remember, this is only a CSU requirement. You don't have to worry about it if you're only applying for the UC. Area 2, mathematics, that's going to be required for your major. Area 3, you're going to take 3 courses. One from 3A, one from 3B, and the third one you're going to choose from either group for a total of 3. Area 4, same thing, 3 courses. Remember, with the example of economics, those 2 economics courses already counted for 2 of them. So again, you only need 1 more there. Then we move into the sciences. You'll need 1 course from 5A, 1 course from 5B. One of those 2 courses needs to have a laboratory component with it. And then the final piece would just be the foreign language, which we talked about just a moment ago. So ideally, that wraps up any worries or questions about the general education or IGETC. I would say come by and see us in counseling often. Don't rely on rumors, and make sure you have everything you need in order to lay a good foundation as you move and prepare for transfer.